All right, let's hit the field.
All right.
Just wanted to talk, that's all.
It is Saturday, August 17th, and it was a rainy day in Detroit, and the Tigers were all over Carlos Rodon as the Yankees were trying to take a 2-0 series lead. My recap, your reactions, coming up next. This is Pinstripe Territory.
Welcome to
Pinstripe Territory.
Come on, Erik.
Just when they thought I was out.
Hey, pull me back, kid.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Kind of a tough day for the Yankees, to be honest. Forgive the noise if there's any background noise. My neighbor decided to cut their grass for the first time in probably a month, and so their lawnmower is working kind of hard right now. But pathetic day for the Yankees. Yankees did enter play with the best record in Major League Baseball at 73-50, but quite frankly, they played down to their competition today. They did not play well at all. Tough day for Carlos Rodon. We'll talk about that more in depth in a second. I was a little disappointed to see that Oswald Peraza was not in the lineup. We got Oswaldo Cabrera back in there at third base, so that was good. But I was kind of hoping that they would both be in there. Then we would have maybe had a little bit more offense. But as a fan, though, seriously, I wanted them to play the hot hand and give Peraza a shot. We had a comment last night that the Yankees don't believe in hot. I still believe that's true. But I think most people who've actually played the sport would say that there is such a thing as hot. So, Oswald Peraza definitely swinging the bat better, recently in the minor leagues and hit a home run yesterday in his debut. And I just don't think it's fair to the kid to put him right back on the bench. But, Gleyber Torres got his at-bats today. Anthony Volpe did have an infield single. He just missed a 3-run home run there in the 9th inning. So I guess they like those matchups better. Oswaldo had a good day. 2 hits. He made a couple of nice plays at third base. Tabor Talk says, looks like they're doing the lefty-righty BS. Seems to be the case. But I'm a big believer that, feeling hot at the plate is a real thing because I've felt it. It feels like the game slows down. And, just stinks that the kid doesn't get an opportunity after hitting a big home run yesterday. And the Yankees offense ended up being pretty much useless. They didn't get a hit out of the infield until the 8th inning. I was so bored that at one point I just started searching for videos of baby raccoons on Instagram. And before I knew it, like 2.5 innings had gone by. But honestly, the videos of the raccoons eating popcorn and watching movies, better than anything I could have watched the Yankees do today.
Hey, Derek. I think every time Volpe's helmet falls off, he should do 100 push-ups.
His helmet does fall off quite a bit. All right, let's talk a little bit about Carlos Rodon. Tough day for Carlos Rodon. He had been pretty much outstanding in his previous 4 starts, 2.22 ERA. But today I thought the stuff looked good. He just didn't get any results. I think one thing that hurts Carlos Rodon is that when a good pitch gets fouled off or gets, he throws a good 2-strike pitch and he gives up a base hit, he lets that get to him, right? You remember, Andy Pettitte or Mariano Rivera, they had poise, right? That's what poise is. You something doesn't go your way and you don't let it affect you. You don't let your body language, get out of control. You don't start stomping around the mound. You just say, okay, I'm going to get the next guy. But when something like that happens to Carlos Rodon, I get the feeling like he loses control, right? He, not necessarily with his pitches, of his emotions, of his body language. You can tell instantly if he thinks that he threw a good pitch that got fouled off. Like, how dare you foul off that good 95-mile-an-hour fastball at the knees? It's like, come on. You're in the major leagues. These are good hitters. Sometimes a good pitch isn't good enough. And he starts barking at the umpire. He starts, barking in general. And I hear you, he didn't have any run support today, but he also put the Yankees in a 4-0 hole in 2 innings. 90 pitches in 3 1/3 innings. 7 hits allowed, 4 earned runs. 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. And it was interesting to me how many, tough pitches were getting fouled off or given up for base hits. It made me wonder whether, maybe he's tipping his pitches a little bit. Now, some of it was definitely location, but there were some times that he threw like a nasty changeup and the guy swung like he knew it was coming. So, maybe they were on something today. On the season now, he has made 25 starts. He is 13-8. He takes the loss today. 134 2/3 innings pitched, 148 strikeouts, so more than a strikeout per inning, 44 walks, and a 1.25 whip. Listen, not great numbers, but certainly better than last season. And, you have to appreciate that at least he's been making more starts this year. Last year he was hurt. But obviously not his best stuff. I believe that Carlos Rodon wants to win, right? I believe he's a competitor. But when things go bad for him, I don't know if poise is a characteristic that he has in his tool bag. I think that he just lets the game kind of get away from him. And that's something I'd like to see him improve on, a little bit more emotional maturity. But there was a weird story yesterday that we got to talk about. I meant to mention this on yesterday's postgame show, but I'm glad I didn't, because now we actually have something to talk about during a game where the Yankees did practically nothing. But there was this story that Alex Verdugo is allergic to his batting gloves. The material that made his batting gloves that he's been wearing for 3 years, he's allergic to it. And so he was having all sorts of blisters and skin problems and stuff. That's amazing to me. I mean, what if this guy puts on a different type of batting glove and starts to rake? But, I mean, the fact that they didn't discover that for 3 years, maybe it is part of the reason he's been struggling. Who knows? Maybe he needs to go the Jorge Posada route. And I'm sure some of you know what I'm referencing before I say this, but if you're unfamiliar with Jorge Posada's condition, he didn't like wearing batting gloves, right? He felt like he couldn't feel the bat well enough. And happy birthday to Jorge Posada, by the way. So I'm sure he appreciates this story. But rather than protecting his skin with gloves, he decided to toughen up his skin by pissing on his hands. And apparently that's something that Moises Alou taught him. But he would piss on his hands to toughen them up. I wish I was kidding. How much do you need to piss on your hands to the point where they become rough? Barf. Tomorrow, if the weather cooperates, will be the Little League Classic. 7th ever Little League Classic. It began in 2017, but the 2020 game was canceled because of COVID. Yankees and Tigers traveling to Williamsport after the game. If they decide to have the game, there's a chance that they might cancel it even tonight so that everybody doesn't have to fly out there. Listen, you don't want guys flying out there, staying for 10 minutes, and then flying back. It's not good on the body. If it's going to rain, just cancel the game. The plan is, if it gets canceled, they're going to play it in Detroit on Monday. So I'm actually surprised that the Yankees took this long to be involved in that game. Usually they're part of the pilot program of, all sorts of stuff. The London series, the Field of Dreams game, all that stuff. The game is played at Bowman Field that I'm going to show you right now. It was the site of the 1987 potato incident. Now, what is the potato incident? In 1987, Dave Bresnahan, I think I said that right, was catching, and he snuck a peeled potato into his glove. All right? And so, with a runner on third base, he takes out the potato and fires it down the third baseline like he's trying to pick the guy off and nobody's covering. And of course, the runner thought it was the ball, so he sprinted home, and Bresnahan was waiting for him at the plate with the actual baseball, so kind of a twist on the hidden ball trick. It didn't work. The umpire called him safe. He awarded home plate to the runner, but I thought that was hilarious. Dimensions at Bowman Field are pretty standard. 331 to right field, 411 to center, and 323 to left field. The record for runs scored during the Little League Classic is 8 by the Mets in 2018, so it's not like the Field of Dreams Park or the London Wind Tunnel where the baseball just flies out of the ballpark. it should be a pretty quiet crowd, too, because there's only going to be 2,500 or so in attendance. The record is 2,596. It's always between 2,400 and 2,500. So, all right, let's get to the recap. There's not much to recap in this one.
Let's get it going.
This might be one of the shorter podcasts, and we'll take some comments from you guys. But Tigers jumped out in front in the first inning, ground rule double, and then an RBI single by the youngster Colt Keith. That made it 1-0. Colton Keith, is that his name? Colt Keith or Colton? I don't know. It's Colt something. Yankees put 2 runners on in the second, but could not score. Good at bat by Austin Wells, who I think continues to improve his, offensive presence. He spits on all sorts of close pitches. He came into the game with an on-base percentage of .349. Let me see what it is now. It's .346, so it went down a little bit. But I think eventually he could be somebody who has like a .390 on-base percentage, like close to 400, maybe not quite 400, but if he hits a little bit more than he did early in the season, no question his OBP would be higher. It'd be like 360, 370 at least. So I think he's a guy who's going to continue to improve offensively. Love the way he spits on close pitches. And bottom 2, Tigers were all over Carlos Rodon. 36 pitches, 3 runs, a lot of deep counts, just hitting way too many at-bats. One positive, outstanding play from Oswaldo Cabrera at third base to rob Jace Jung of his first career hit, but he did get his first career hit later on. They started talking about how, some guys, well, this is what they were saying about Oswaldo. He adds energy to the clubhouse, right? And they were saying that some guys add energy and some guys subtract energy, which is hard to prove, right? But I did read a book on this a while back, and it was called The Social Animal. And there's this concept of an emotional contagion where the body language, and a positive attitude can rub off on other people, right? Like a go-get-'em type of coach can really inspire, Some people just have that, you listen to them talk and you get pumped up, I think probably somebody like, I'm trying to think of the real leaders, I think about somebody like Don Mattingly, right? They always said that, when he would speak to guys, they would listen, and just the way he carried himself, like that, that type of leadership energy or whatever. And then like Nick Swisher was a guy who was just like this rambunctious kind of like fun-loving, and guys had fun when they were around him, right? The energy that certain people put out there, like transfers to other people. But it also works in the negative. Like if there's somebody who has really bad energy, is just a really negative person, a lot of, bad body language, reacts to things negatively, that can rub off on the team in a bad way too. So I've just been thinking about like the makeup of the clubhouse and who would be what, right? Oswaldo definitely adds energy for sure. Who would be somebody that subtracts energy? Would Carlos Rodon's body language possibly rub off on the team in a bad way? Gleyber Torres maybe? I don't know. It's just something to think about. Those are the things that managers and GMs have to think about when they're assembling a team. Albert Bell was an amazing baseball player, but he was just such a dick, right? Never won a World Series. Barry Bonds, amazing baseball player. He was just a total prick, and teammates didn't like him. But then again, there were people that nobody liked that have done a lot of winning, right? So. It's just one of those things. It's one of those fine balances. But I do love what Oswaldo adds to the team. I know that as a fan, there are certain players that zap my energy watching them. Like Clay Holmes, for instance. I think he's a great guy. He seems like a nice teammate. But watching him and the constant stress, it zaps my energy as a fan. It makes the ninth inning not enjoyable. When somebody's not hustling, like that zaps my energy for whatever reason. Anyway, Torkelson led off the fifth inning with a triple, ended up trying to score on what would have been a pass ball. Nice job by Wells and Tim, Maiza, to nail him at home. Tim Maiza's first game as a Yankee. Again, 6th through 8th inning, mostly looking at pictures of raccoons on Instagram. Nothing crazy happened. Yankees finally got their first hit out of the infield in the 8th inning. Oswaldo Cabrera did not score. Judge doubled to lead off the 9th inning. Yankees put a couple of runners on, and Volpe flew out to the warning track to end the game.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
You get nothing.
Saber says that LeMahieu vaporizing his energy. That's funny. Yeah, I can see that. He reminds us that we age, and it makes us sad. Raymond Vellon says Dominguez for Stanton. That's not going to happen. So we've talked about this a little bit. Yankees are holding back on getting Dominguez up because they don't want him to get over a certain threshold of at-bats. Like I think if he gets 100 more at-bats, he loses rookie eligibility. So let's see here. David Lawrence says, people in the clubhouse love Glaber. The fans just hate him. That's possible. That's possible. And I know some fans love Gleyber Torres. I used to love Gleyber Torres, but over the years, his constant base running errors and the numerous times that he's had lack of hustle issues and, you know, the nonchalantness on plays that he doesn't make, watching balls that don't go out of the ballpark, that type of stuff, just the cumulative effect of it has kind of wore thin on me. And I wouldn't say I dislike Gleyber, but I'm not like his biggest fan anymore. But, you know, there are guys on this team that I would run through a wall for, you know, just watching the way that Austin Wells or Juan Soto play the game. Juan Soto, especially on defense, plays really hard, you know. Verdugo, he plays hard in the outfield. He's prone to the occasional, you know, lackadaisical type of thing. But I think he plays hard most of the time. LeMahieu, I think he plays hard and stuff like that, but I get the person who says it vaporizes his energy because it's just ground out after ground out after ground out. It's tough to watch. But Nettie Rivera says, this group will never win a championship with this team. I mean, you don't know that. I mean, last year, they got the best record in baseball coming into the game, you know? I mean, anything can happen. Last year, the Diamondbacks were 84 and whatever, and they made it to the World Series and could have won it. Richard C. says, Jazz is the opposite. Big energy guy. 100% agree. Jazz Chisholm brings the energy. He's one of those guys that injects life into the clubhouse. I love it. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get your final thoughts here.
What do you say?
Larry says, the Yankees weren't going to win 112 games. There will be other losses, so everyone chill. Look, I don't think anyone's not chill. I mean, look, this is a place where people come to vent after a game. And, you know, I can't blame people for being a little bit upset after 4 hits and no runs and no balls out of the infield until the 8th inning when the starting pitcher for the Tigers had an ERA over 5. I can't blame people for being a little ticked off. Frankly, I'm a little ticked off myself. But, you know, you're not going to win every single game. There will be days like this where you just play down to your competition. I hope they do play that Sunday night game, the Little League game, but the weather not looking promising.
That ball is high. It is far. It is gone.
So call in 718-899-1068. If they rain out the game, we'll do a voicemail show in the evening. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be live on my other channel, The Dudes. It's another podcast we've got. You can get it on podcast platforms also. We're going to be talking about a few movies. We're going to do Alien Romulus, which I'm going to see tonight. We're talking about The Fall Guy, which is a pretty funny comedy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, and some other things talking about the Fallout series. So all going to be good conversations, and that'll be, again, tomorrow, 2 o'clock on my other channel, The Dudes. And if you just go to the main Pinstripe Territory page, it's linked right there in the middle. I've got a playlist with The Dudes, so you can just add that, subscribe to it, all that good stuff. Always subscribe to this channel, Pinstripe Territory. Also, follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Like the video. It helps other people find the channel. Take a few more comments here. Jason Thomas says, I love the hustle in Cabrera. Wish more guys took a page out of his book. The league needs more guys like Charlie Hustle.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Let's see what else here. Du Bois Wonder says, any news on Jazz? We talked about it last night. Sounds like he is going to be back at some point this season. They're not planning surgery. They're planning rest and rehab. So the Wizardess says, that sucked. I was at the game. It is what it is. David Lawrence says Jazz's teammates didn't like him. How could anybody not like that guy? I don't get it. Let's see here. Tommy C's Cat says the sports writers all agree Yankees will make it to the postseason. Clay Holmes will break our hearts. I could see that happening. That's why we were hoping to get a legitimate swing and miss closer at the deadline, but did not happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Ball game over.
If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and give us a subscribe. It helps other Yankees fans find the channel. We're also on all your favorite podcast platforms and social media. Join the community, have some fun. We're here after every game. This is Pinstripe Territory.